welcome to Cover Story. This week I travelled to South Mumbai to take a look at Milind Deora's campaign. Milind, if you recall, is a two-term Congress MP from this area, and I'm standing here in Marine Drive, which actually falls in Milind Deora's constituency. And after this, we're going to go and take a look at how Milind Deora's campaign is panning out. Here we are on a campaign trail with Milind Deora. Hi Milind, good morning, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
So what's the plan for today?
Plan is to do a Padyatra and rally in different parts of South Mumbai, then some meetings and then rallies and Padyatras again and then some more meetings.
Tough then. What time did you wind up last night?
Around 2 a.m.
This is been like this for how long?
Like this for a few weeks and will be like this for another 10 days or so.
Let's hit the ground running then, as they say. Milind, where exactly are we going, and can you tell us a bit about your constituency? Is it largely, the investor class, upper middle class, or is it more slum dominated?
We're going to a place, an area called Khetwadi, which is the lesser known part of Sobo for those who only know South Mumbai as Worli Seaface and Pedder Road and Marine Drive. So the real heart of the constituency is really as you move east. Here it's really old buildings because this is the old part of the city. Coming back to this cluster development policy, what we've done is we worked with the state government now to look at, rather than developing individual buildings, to develop clusters, develop block by block. And that allows the state to plan the infrastructure much better.
You're also known as MP from Manhattan, that's right?
That's what some of my friends in the BJP called me. Because
why is that?
Because South Mumbai is it's a commercial capital of city is a commercial capital of the country, and South Mumbai is really the economic nerve center of India. And so I guess compared to rural constituencies, where here we complain of potholes on the roads. In other constituencies, there are no roads.
When we reached Khetwadi in South Mumbai, a crowd of party workers, all dressed up in Congress caps and banners, awaited us. Milind's campaign. When we reached Khetwadi in South Mumbai, a crowd of party workers, all dressed up in Congress caps and banners, awaited us. Milind's campaign tempo led the way through the chawls as shopkeepers greeted him with the odd mithai, and some even charred rose petals on him in true Bombay filmy style. Milind, we're here right in the middle of a campaign. This is an area you visited when you were a kid also with your father, right?
Yes.
How does it feel like to come back in your own right as an MP?
Well, now I've been representing this area for 10 years. So, for example, this particular place there's a local Maharashtrian population and there's a local Rajasthani population, people who come from Sanchor in Rajasthan, who are all involved in the metal business, the stainless steel business. And even one of the local corporators, municipal councillors from this area is from that community, our Congress corporator. So we have always enjoyed the support of this community of both the Maharashtrians and the Sanchori Rajasthanis, which in some ways is what I am, because I'm half Maharashtrian and I'm half Rajasthani.
How is that?
My mother is Maharashtrian and my father is Marwadi. So that's just how South Mumbai is, and we've always represented both sections equally.
Right in the middle of the campaign, we are here on the campaign truck with Milind Deora. While he's talking to us, he's got people around, so there is also a campaign mithai happening. In fact, I'm going to ask him how he keeps his weight down after eating so much of mithai that he's getting every 2 minutes. The Aam Aadmi Party made any difference over here?
No, so my point is, I was one of the few congressmen who thought it's a good idea to support them in Delhi. And I thought it was a good idea when the Delhi elections were over to support them, because I think it's important to have stability. There's no point having fresh elections. And politics is the art of the possible. So I was one of the few congressmen, while my party didn't want to support them, I felt I threw my weight behind the idea of supporting them. But like many others who were observing them, I was very disappointed with what they did and the fact that they couldn't even last 50 days in government. And like I said, regardless of whether you win or lose, you sign an informal contract with the people of your constituency. But if you win, you have to guarantee them governance for 5 years. You can't say 50 days, I'm just packing up and saying I'm getting the hell out of here. And that's when, like many others, I lost respect for them, their ability to govern. And in terms of South Mumbai and outside Delhi, I think a lot of it will depend on the candidates. And fortunately for me, their candidate in South Mumbai is someone who fought against me in 2009 and pretty much has been missing in action ever since. So I think if I had a tougher candidate who was more involved in the area, who had been working in the area, had been representing people's issues, things would have been different. But I don't take anyone lightly, as I said. I treat everyone seriously. All 90.
The fact that the MNS and Shiv Sena are both standing, will that divide the anti-Congress vote for your favor?
I don't, again, get into who'll divide what and there's people who are trying to divide my votes also. People say Aam Aadmi Party and BSP and others are trying to divide my vote. So whoever wants to divide, people who are fighting to defeat someone or to raise their profile, they never win elections ultimately. I think those who win elections are those who are serious and really want to represent the people.
Milind, I can see a lot of campaign mithai you're collecting on the way. I mean, thanks to you, I got a whole lot. So how do you manage the campaign weight?
I used to, before the elections began, I'm quite regular with exercise actually. I do about 3 days of exercising a week, 3 or 4 days. Sometimes I swim, sometimes I go for a little run, sometimes I do a little bit of weight training for my spine really. Unfortunately, the last few weeks, there's no time for that. But you're doing padyatras, you're always moving around. And that alone allows you to lose weight. But as you can see, I'm running a bit of a cold. So I'm already on antibiotics because I don't want to fall ill during elections. I fell ill during both the last 2 elections.
Maybe that's a lucky charm.
Well, it's a lucky charm I can do without this time.
So you recommend campaign for people like us to lose weight?
I think it's a great way to lose weight. It's a great way to stay fit.
बाहरों फूल बरसाओ मेरा महबूब आया है.
Milind, your second election as a married man. So is your wife complaining about neglect or she's got used to it by now?
I think she's happy that I'm out of the house. No, she's the first election when it was just a few months after we got married, after 26/11 happened. And it was a very challenging time for us. But for someone who has no idea about politics, she's done very well in adapting to marrying a politician. It's not easy because schedules are very erratic, a lot of travel. But she's been a great, very, very supportive and very understanding spouse. I mean, more than I can ask for or dream about.
Milind Deora's cavalcade had just passed by this area. This is essentially a trader's area, as he was telling us. And the local body tax is a big issue here, which the Congress and Milind Deora especially has been lobbying against. तो यहाँ से जब Milind Deora गया, क्या उसका कुछ किया है इलाके के लिए? आप उनको फिर से वोट देगा?
जी हाँ, जरूर देगा हम उनको वोट. और बहुत अच्छे इंसान है मिलिंद देवरा, हम उनके साथ हैं.
तो बाकी जो उम्मीदवार है शिवसेना का या आम आदमी पार्टी का, कोई यहाँ आया है?
अभी तो कोई नहीं आया इधर.
पिछले दिनों आए थे, 1 महीना हो गया. अरविंद केजरीवाल आए, इसी रोड से गए थे सामने से. तो
असर पड़ा केजरीवाल का?
नहीं, खास तौर से कोई असर नहीं पड़ा है अभी उनका. नहीं पड़ा अभी.
आप बताइए यहाँ पे आप किसको वोट देंगे? आम आदमी पार्टी, शिवसेना? अभी मिलिंद देओरा गए, उनका कोई असर पड़ा आपको?
बहुत असर है
मिलिंद देओरा का.
हाँ, उन्हीं को वोट देंगे सब पब्लिक.
उन्हीं को वोट देंगे. बाकी उम्मीदवार का नाम मालूम है आपको?
नहीं वैसा तो मालूम नहीं, लेकिन मतलब उन्हीं को पूरा देंगे 100%.
After a hectic morning's campaign, I caught up with Milind at his flat that he shares with his wife Pooja. Mindful of the campaign weight, he had a calorie-conscious lunch before we sat down to a candid chat. This is your third election campaign, Lok Sabha election. In what way is this campaign very different from the others?
In 2009, we were caught by surprise with regards to how strong a party like the MNS was, for instance. which came second in South Mumbai. And this time we know that MNS is a strong party.
Who's your main opponent? Is it MNS or is it Shiv Sena?
I think it's based on last election's performance, it's definitely MNS. I treat them all very seriously. I don't treat anyone frivolously, even if they are fighting for frivolous reasons. But
I think that's a dig at the Aam Aadmi Party, is it?
no, look, there's so many people who fight elections to, especially in a prestigious seat like South Mumbai, to win maybe, to defeat somebody else, to raise their profile just for the sake of fighting. There's some people who just like to fight from South Mumbai and say, I'm an ex-candidate of South Mumbai.
Oh, that's also a designation
On their visiting
works.
cards, it's an important designation.
But having said that, it's also a bad time to be in the Congress, isn't it? There's a huge anti-incumbency wave, 10 years of government, and there seems to be a vote in favor of the BJP. I
don't agree with that, and I don't think, firstly, there's a right and wrong time to be in any party. I'm not a political tourist who just chooses parties based on how popular a particular party is at the time. I think ultimately what really matters is, what is the person, the candidate offering his electorate, and that's something which I'm very proud of my record, because in my first term and in my second term, I've demonstrated that in terms of at least parliamentary performance, which I believe should be the primary barometer of judging a politician's performance and whether they should be elected or re-elected. My parliamentary performance has been very good.
But what are the issues that one would say that these are the issues that Milind Deora has raised? That's what he's passionate about.
Well, I've had the pleasure of initiating and speaking on very, very important debates in Parliament. Many years ago, I initiated the debate on RTI, which is a historic bill. At that time, I remember, it's almost hard to imagine an India which didn't have RTI.
Has it come back to bite you? I mean, a lot of the scams, this is the Congress.
I think we did it in a sincere way. We said, let's make government more transparent.
You spoke about your track record as an MP. Unfortunately, in this election, it's become a larger than just your constituency. It's also the election who will be the Prime Minister, and Modi factor is playing a big role, while the Congress doesn't have anybody to offer.
Well, firstly, I think this wave business is clearly overhyped.
I have people in Rajasthan saying we don't like the MP, but we like Modi, so let's vote for BJP.
I heard a lot of these things in 2004 also. The same thing was said about Mr. Vajpayee when he was Prime Minister of India in 2004. I met a lot of people in South Mumbai who said the same thing.
Right.
I may not care about the candidate here, but I want Mr. Vajpayee to be in power. And I remember BJP ran the India Shining campaign, and their poll projections were that they would get from 180 seats to 220 seats. Them as a party, forget about NDA.
Yeah.
And a month later, from 180 they got 130 seats. So India is too diverse and complex a country to predict waves and to say that there's a national wave in favor of somebody. I don't see any of these waves, and if there are waves, I don't see why right here in Maharashtra BJP is trying to woo a party like MNS so desperately. If there's such a wave, I don't see why the president of the BJP suddenly ditches his constituency and is trying to shift to another constituency. If there's such a wave, I don't see why Mr. Modi himself has to fight from two constituencies in India. These are all hyped things in the media just to say there's a wave. I think some sections of India buy that hype. Strangely enough, the educated section buys that hype. Those who are less literate in some ways are more politically informed and more politically aware, and they've never bought that hype. They didn't buy it in 2004, they didn't buy it in 2009, they won't buy it now.
But what will they buy now? What is the Congress offering? You have a leader who says, I don't want to be PM.
See, Priya, it's not about a leader saying something right, wrong, inspiring confidence or not inspiring enough confidence. That's important. We can do better to improve our positioning and branding as a party. There's no doubt about it. But given the fact that we are a representative, a parliamentary system of democracy and not a presidential system of democracy, individuals do not matter in our country's polity. Today Mr. Modi is projecting himself as PM. What if the BJP gets 150 seats? and they are unable to come up a coalition and to get allies on board. And what if the allies? What if
that
Mr.
will be
Nitish
a
Kumar
vote
and others
against
say?
Modi? Then,
No, but
that
then what
his
if-
chances are gone. He's bet all on this election. But at least he's taken the risk.
But let's
Milind.
assume they have the highest number of seats and they have to form the government. And Nitish Kumar and others say we're ready to support BJP, but not under Mr. Modi's leadership, maybe under Mr. Advani's leadership, like they've said openly.
Yeah, but then there is a Jayalalitha who will go to.
No, so what does it mean then him saying I'm a PM candidate? It has no meaning. It has no legal
But at least he's
sanctity.
put his hat there and he says, I am willing to take the risk. Rahul, all this constitutional jargon is fine, but it really seems come to across to the media and the public at large as an excuse for not putting your hat in the ring. And also,
But you know what is wrong in saying that our system is different from the US? It's not a personality contest. It's based on every individual Lok Sabha seat, which then aggregates into who will become Prime Minister of the country and which party will form the government. And what is wrong in, at one level, we get criticized, we are accused of having a puppet government, a remote control government. Because Mrs. Gandhi says, I don't want to be PM, and she could have been PM twice in this country. 2 times she could have been PM, she said no. You get criticized for that. At the other stage, you're getting criticized for saying you should want to be PM. So, there's a contradiction. At one level, you're being, it's like damned if you do and damned if you don't.
But we just have this book come out by the Prime Minister's former media advisor. He talks about the whole system of how Sonia is exercising power without responsibility. That's what people have been saying, but now an insider is saying it, and she's told us instances where she's interfered.
I think that's very unfair, firstly. I know Mr. Baru, I don't want to say anything unsavory, but I would just say it's very easy for anyone who's enjoyed power, either as a secretary, as a media advisor, as a senior bureaucrat, as a minister, as a politician in government, to stay quiet for many years and suddenly later make a controversial claim, especially when you're going to release a book.
I think it's publicity.
I mean, it gives you great publicity. Would the book have been exciting if he didn't say those things?
But it's not a lie. I mean,
of course, it's a lie. How can you assume that Mrs. Gandhi is seeing files? And why would she want to see files? Of course, party gives some social, political direction to the government. There's no doubt about that. And that's something we're very clear about. But the party doesn't want to micromanage the affairs of the government.
But most of the guys, the people in the cabinet, were not giving him respect. That's the other thing he wrote. Arjun Singh never stood up when he entered.
I've been in government for 3 years. Manage the affairs of the government.
But most of the guys, the people in the cabinet, were not giving him respect. That's the other thing he wrote. Arjun Singh never stood up when he entered.
I've been in government for 3 years. I've been in government in 2 ministries. I've had multiple meetings with the Prime Minister on many issues. I've never seen that kind of thing. Now, why did one particular leader not give the Prime Minister respect? It's for that leader to answer. If that leader felt shortchanged, the leader felt that I'm more senior than the Prime Minister, and how could the Prime Minister be made Prime Minister of India? That's a different story.
You think it's a personal ego clash rather
Might
than
be, I don't know. I don't know why. That's something
campaign against
There's
the
no
PM.
way of that.
But for instance, the victory of 2009, who would you see it? Sanjay Baru said that Manmohan Singh felt cheated.
Nobody said the Prime Minister shouldn't get credit. So these are just sensational claims made in a book just at the time of the release. I think it's a good marketing strategy on Mr. Baru's behalf. But I think it's very, very unfortunate for people, as I said, who've enjoyed power to stay silent if this was happening and suddenly come out and say that.
Okay, finally one question on Rahul Gandhi. He's been now coming out talking to the media, and what he's telling us is that, we've been accusing him of not participating in governance. He said, yes, I did, but it was all behind the scenes. Shouldn't Rahul have become more visible? Because we see the image of a shrinking leader. He claimed that it's not so. He's been a participatory leader.
I don't hide the fact that I always have believed, right from 2004 when we both became MPs at the same time, that the party's leadership and even the government's leadership should be more engaging with the people of India through the media, without the media, through social media, It's something which unfortunately hasn't happened for a long time. Now, the way I look at it is, different individuals have different philosophies of communication. In your organization, there'll be somebody who works behind the scenes, very good hard worker. But when it comes to take credit, that person always stays right at the back. And you need to pull that person in front and say, come on, you worked so hard, you need to take credit.
You think
And
Rahul
then
is
you'll
that
have
person?
somebody else who will do nothing, but will be right in front saying, look, I did this. That's personal philosophies of communication that different people have. But in a profession like politics, I think both are dangerous. If you decide to be, very reticent and say, I just want to do things behind the scene, but when it comes to take credit, I want to be just at the back and let someone else take credit, and I just want to stay back and observe how things are being done. That's very dangerous in politics, because in public life and in politics, people need to know what you're doing. I communicate because I want people to buy into that vision and to embrace e-governance and to put pressure on the political establishment to make more government services in electronic form. The second variety also is very dangerous, which is the person who just comes and thumps his chest and says, I take credit for something good that happened, when that person didn't work hard enough. So that's also very, very dangerous, and that eventually falls flat in its face. The advantage of being a little reticent is, in the long run, you can still come out and let people know what you've been doing, what you believe in, take credit for some of the initiatives you've been behind. It's still better than being the guy who just thumps his chest and says, look, I'm God and I've done everything great. And that happens in every office and every workplace, for instance.
Well, you have a lot of thumping chest people who now don't even want to fight the election. They're so scared to put their money where their mouth is. They've been 5 years, media seen them preening in front of the cameras. A lot of...
I don't know if anyone's afraid to fight an election. I think different people have given different reasons why they can't fight elections.
You buy those reasons?
I think if someone says, if you're talking about one of my colleagues who said he's not well, for instance, and has been ill for a long time and can't fight the election, I think one has to be decent enough to respect that.
Okay, my final question is, do you think Rahul Gandhi left it too late? His coming out, engaging with the public, engaging with the media, letting us know what's on his mind, what's playing on his mind. He's doing it really in the last lap, really. He should have done this more consistently.
I can't comment on why he did it late, and I'm not part of his inner team to know whether he should have done it, and I don't have the ability to advise him.
You are one of the people who are close to him.
No, I know him. I know him well, and he's a senior leader in my party, but I don't think he listens to my advice, for example. So there's no point in me saying what he should do or shouldn't have done. I believe in politics, when we got a chance in 2004, we should have all hit the ground running. We should have all been, demonstrated our aggression and constructive behavior in Parliament.
You've been watching his interviews, 2 of his interviews. Do you think it's made a difference, him coming out so much, talking to people?
I think, interviews are, they're not easy initially for anyone. When I started doing interviews in 2004, they're not easy. You get nervous. It's not easy being in front of the camera. I can tell any of your viewers today that if, I brought them in here and they were asked difficult questions by a senior journalist like yourself, it's not easy to face those questions, at least initially. You need to get practice to face the camera, and that's true for anyone, whether you're an actor, whether you're a politician. Sometimes they're one and the same. But so I think he's starting his whole media interactions now, and I think he's already done 2 media interviews, and I thought the second one was a very good interview. I thought he made some very, very important points, and I can assure you that the more someone gets comfortable with the medium, the easier it is for you to say what you really believe in, and to say it strongly, confidently, articulately.
While Milind left to catch up with the rest of his campaign schedule, we spoke to his filmmaker wife, Priya Deora, about the latest blockbuster in the family, Milind's comeback campaign.
No regrets. I got married in, I think, few months, 5-6 months before the 2009 election. At that point, I was like, oh my God, I'm seeing a whole new side to Milind, which I hadn't been exposed to when I knew him before we were married. Now I'm used to it, I think.
So any of the causes or issues that he's taken up that really interests you?
One particularly that I like a lot is the soccer challenge that he started in South Bombay, which involves a lot of schools across the board to participate. And so there's an inter-school, inter-South Bombay competition that takes place, and the kids that win every year get picked up and sent to London for training with Queen Park Rangers. And
finally, any message for him?
The only message is that I think I'm really proud of him, and I think that he's going to win this election.
That was a fairly confident Milind fighting his third election from this area. His strategy seems to be count on his own work, the family goodwill, and also the fact that there could be a division in the opposition vote bank with both the Sena and the MNS fielding candidates. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you for watching Cover Story, and we'll see you again same time next week.